Hello! Hi everybody, how are we doing? Am I audible? Is my mic working? Did I set all this up correctly? Ah, maybe not.
You're audible.
Okay.
Great. I'm hearing it now.
We just have like a big YouTube or Discord chat delay. Well, that's fine. All right. Hey, welcome to another exciting development stream for Mina the Hollower. Today I'm going to be doing stuff. We're going to be writing up new designs for new enemies and objects from a new zone. A lot of new stuff happening. But first, why don't we just go around and introduce ourselves? There's only two of us in here right now. I'm Alec. I'm the project lead, and I'm doing design stuff. What about you, Michael? Who are you?
Hello. I'm Michael. I'm the producer working with Alec on this game. So I'll be helping running the stream and fielding questions. Well, Alec, you get to go through all the fun, exciting stuff today. And by exciting stuff, it's mostly documents.
Yup. Yeah, surprise everyone. Game design is a lot of like looking at spreadsheets and documents actually. Okay,
And
so
we got
cool.
Sandy.
Oh, is Sandy in here?
Yeah.
Oh,
I just joined.
whoa, sick.
What?
Hey, Sandy.
What's up, everybody?
Sandy, what do you do? Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Sandy.
I mean, I know.
I do pixel art on Mina.
Sandy made these cool pixels you're looking at right now. Okay.
Yeah, look at this weirdness.
All right. So, first up, an exciting announcement. Do you guys remember the astral orrery from the Kickstarter?
I do.
I'm not talking to you, Sandy.
I know. What is it, Alec?
See?
Well, if you notice on these stretch goals, it said if we got to $1.4 million, we would do an additional level. That additional level, I think we talked about it somewhere in like one of our updates. Probably a really old one, like from when the campaign was still running. But that level was going to be a area called the Astral Clock Tower. And unfortunately, we did not reach $1.4 million. But we've decided to do it anyways. So, sorry, Michael. that's our producer. He loves it when I say stuff like that.
Budget decisions that precede me are less of a critical hit to my planning, so
Where
I'll
was,
allow this
Good
one.
deflection.
where was that? We definitely like talked about it, right? In an update or
I think
something.
it was.
Exciting new surprises.
in-
Maybe that.
Yeah, it was in an update, and it was definitely in the stretch goal gift.
Yeah, I showed that. I could have sworn we like wrote a little bit about what the area would have been. Here it is. Okay, yeah, there we go.
There you go.
So this is I guess it was called the Astral Orrery back then. I thought it was still the original temp name, the Astral Clock Tower. But anyways, it's the Astral Orrery. Let's see what we wrote about it a year and a half ago. Mina the Hollower's final stretch goal is to expand with an additional level, the Astral Orrery. Mina becomes trapped in a world beyond imagining, an ancient, pristine, celestial clock tower. As she passes by her reflection, it doesn't seem to be perfectly in sync. What is real and what is not, and is there an escape? The Astral Clock Tower will be replete with time and space-bending gameplay. And then there's this part, clocking in. As an added bonus, we thought this stage could take advantage of a real-time clock system where certain enemies might appear, certain challenges might be different during different times of day. Many Game Boy games and other classics had this type of feature, and we thought it would be fun to recreate that feeling of needing to check in with a certain time to find that special something. So, now the astral orrery is no longer simply a illusion lurking within the gaps in our imagination, but it is a real level that we actually have to do. So lately we've been having meetings and talking about what this area might actually be, and how to get this idea of having real-time clock-based gameplay in there. I'll fast forward a little bit and say, as a result of those meetings, we've decided not to do any real-time clock-based gameplay. I think maybe we were more excited about the pun of calling it the real-time clock tower. I think that was the most exciting thing about it, and turns out that maybe like assigning gameplay to certain times of day is simply exclusionary and pisses people off. So we still have some other like tasks on the board, so to speak, to think about real-time clock stuff. There's some other ideas that were mentioned, but for now we're not going to worry about that, and we're just going to forge on ahead and make another cool level with all sorts of other cool stuff to set it apart. So I guess we really have to like go through all Astral Ori before we can really get going, just because you need all this context. So this is what we like pitched a little while ago. Now it's looking a lot more real. Here, check it out. There's like the actual panorama that you'll see when you get to the area. Pretty dang similar to the concept. Ain't that silly? Themes of this area, cosmic horror is a big one. We haven't talked a lot about like behind the scenes story crafting of stuff in the game, but each one of these zones is lining up nicely with like a different genre of horror. This zone being focused on like horror that's larger than life, then takes place within a context that Mina even has trouble like grasping in the first place, is kind of where a lot of this is going. There's some backstory stuff I'm not going to get into that we're starting to fill out. There's some character ideas that we had some cool ideas for. But the meat and potatoes, what we're going to be doing today, is working on this stuff. Ideas for like enemies and objects. And so one of the first steps that happens in our process is all that gets turned into this big old brainstorming sheet. If you've been in all of these cool development streams, you've probably seen us like run through one of these like brainstorming sessions where everyone pitches their ideas. We did this last week and came up with some cool ideas. Pause the stream and look at all of these if you really want to. There's some neat things in there. And then that kind of gets turned into something like this. So it's like, I know we need about like 5 cool enemies and like 5 cool objects. These seem like they were like the winners. There's a little bit more than 5, still pruning it down a little bit. And then at the bottom, a bunch of cool unassigned ideas where like, oh, this would be neat, but like it's not really an idea of like a whole enemy or a whole object, but it's rather like just a concept that could get applied to any enemy or object. So stuff like an enemy that splits into 2 and then 4, you know, like those little slimes from like a Zelda or something where you attack them and then they pop into 2 pieces. Like, we don't have an enemy like that. Maybe that would be cool in this kind of zone. An enemy that floats just out of your range and spits slow projectiles at you. We don't have an enemy like that. Those are like pretty useful. And some of these are like lore ideas. We should have a scholar who's been like corrupted by the madness. Some of these are like more concrete ideas, like, hey, there should be a pit hand, a hand that like reaches out of a pit. And that one, like, what do you know? It's already written up. Here it is, the abyss hand. So some of them are like more figured out than others. But this is like a good toolbox that we can pull ideas from as we design stuff. So some big picture things about the Astral Orrery. You can do any of the levels in any order, but it's pretty likely that this will be like the last one that you did, or that you do when you play the game. The enemies here are going to be harder than pretty much all of the other areas. It should be kind of on par in terms of difficulty with the Frozen Train Yard. If you wanted to think of it in like Shovel Knight terms, this is like in the last set of levels, right? It's like, oh, I know the end of the game is coming up soon, but for now, like, I can do, you know, flying machine or stranded ship. to difficult levels. That's like kind of the difficulty in the context that we're going to be working within. Cool. What else? What else do we know about the astral orrery? We want a lot of things that are based on like illusions and tricks. It seems like that line that was in here about the Kickstarter, that ended up being like pretty relevant for a lot of the brainstorming here. That this is a time and space bending gameplay, and the reality of what you're doing is like being messed with. This is like the zone where our wackiest ideas can live. This is like at a point in the game likely where we've built a lot of trust with the player about like what the game is about and what types of challenges you'll see, and now we can mess with that level of trust and we can surprise you in cool and weird and wacky ways. So, I'll just do a quick overview of the stuff we have written down already, and then we'll jump in and just start designing some stuff. I think we're going to do an object. We're going to do the astral encounter, which I have a good idea of what it's actually going to be, but pretty much nothing is written down, so we can go through the process of writing all that together. But before we do that, let's just go over all of it so you can be thinking of like all of the cool enemies and objects that'll be here. I'll try not to give like story spoilers or anything, but you will be seeing very early iterations of all the things that you'll see in that level. So we have a summoner enemy that summons minions. More broadly speaking, this is the idea of an enemy that you need to prioritize because they will endlessly create little guys, little ads that just like keep running at you. That's a category of enemy we've wanted for a really long time, and hey, this is kind of our last opportunity to get it in there. A star shooter, this is a really simple enemy that just like shoots in 8 directions. If you look at these, by the way, you can see like the level of quality we will be striving for in these mock-ups. But yeah, an enemy that shoots 2 projectiles opposite itself, and then what that angle is continues to rotate. So they'll shoot like, if this were a clock, they'll shoot at like 12 and 6, right? And then they'll shoot at 1 and 7, and so on and so forth as they like go around the clock. So it seems like a really useful guy. It seems like a guy that could just float there. That means you can like put him anywhere in level design, whether there's a pit or not. He can create projectiles that go across the entire screen, which means he can be like really useful as a hazard that commands your attention right now, or something that's like being annoying and you have to deal with later. Simple but useful enemy. This is like one of the first ones that we thought up.
That should be the real-time clock implementation, Alec.
He only shoots
the star shooter.
Nah.
It shoots at whatever the local minute hand and wherever the local second hand is.
It's got to be way faster, and I think crucially, like this part, level design props, initial shot direction, that being able to be something that we set, I think is like really really important for this guy, because I want to have like big star fields of a lot of these, and they're all like shooting in different directions, and you have to like kind of keep that in mind and move radially. That idea of like circles and moving in radiuses and circular motion, that's like another theme that's coming up in a lot of this stuff. It makes sense because this is an orrery, and like that is a diagram of how things orbit one another. So like having things that orbit one another in the gameplay, I mean, that just makes sense, right? So these guys like shoot in a radial fashion that continues to rotate. Some of these other ideas that we want to fit in here play on that theme as well. This one in particular, I want to like make sure is in there. Orbiting shields around an enemy, so an enemy that just like has some shields that are like moving around them in a circle, and so you can only attack when the shield's not there. Timing attacks like that, that's like that's always good fun, and kind of let the enemy dictate the pace of the fight a little bit. Next up, we got Galactic Axe Armor. This is like just the idea of a big scary enemy. This is like the one that's designed the least right now. Maybe he could create those orbiting shields. Maybe he could immobilize you, like when Medusa looks at you, right? That's like another idea in here. Maybe this is a guy that throws boomeranging projectiles high and low. We've wanted an enemy like that for a really long time. Just like a Castlevania axe armor. That's why this guy is called the Galactic Axe Armor at the moment. So it seems like a lot of those more combat-heavy ideas can get focused into this guy. Wall slime. It's important to have like big, complicated enemies, but it's also important to have really simple ones that you can use a lot of in the level, just for variety's sake, and to create setups of enemies that can complement one another. So this idea is something that just like moves from wall to wall really simply. We've had success with that in another area that we just did earlier this year. With this guy, this is the wall clinger enemy, name not final, but like he moves along the wall and he like tries to shoot projectiles at you. So we're thinking it might be cool to have a guy that moves along the wall like this, but then he can like cross from one wall to another. So you could have some far walls and you could be on like a bridge in the middle and then they're like crossing you up, trying to hit you, while also like going from side to side. Something simple that fits within that category seems like it would be useful for this level and also just for the game in general. So that's 4 ideas. Normally we do 5, but it seems like maybe another focus of this level is going to be the platforming. Combat is more of a big deal in this game, so I feel like it's taking center stage in a lot of the areas and a lot of the gameplay content we designed for you. But this game's got platforming too. Not as much platforming. It's not like a side scroller, but I think the platforming is like a really big and important part of it. And it's seeming like with the ideas that we're coming up with, this area should try and focus like more intensely on the platforming. Which I think also pairs nicely with Frozen Train Yard, since that level kind of ended up being very like combat focused and like combat arena focused. So these are all big high level things to be like thinking about when creating a compelling like set of enemies or gameplay objects to fit within a zone. So yeah, if we have less enemies, that gives us maybe a little bit more space for gameplay objects. So right now there's 1 more than average in here. Not really. Pickups, not really. It's the same category. Never mind. Don't listen to me. For objects, here's what we're thinking. We need some kind of rainbow platform. The reason we need this is because if you look, Morgan already made this cool art, and it's got these like rainbow platforms in it. So that's called writing a check that you got to cash later, and later is now, because we got to figure out what these rainbow platforms do and like how they work or if they do anything. And there were a few ideas in here about like just simple platform types. Pendulum movement platforms. There's one. Burrow moving platforms. The cosmic canvas. So it seems like looping together some of those ideas and turning them into a cool, simple platforming object that seems like a slam dunk. We have this idea about magic mirrors, also from that Kickstarter. You never noticed when things you write years ago turn into like big tasks later. But look what it says. As she passes by her reflection, it doesn't seem to be perfectly in sync. What is real and what is not? So doing something with your reflection seems like we got to do something like with that, right? We were excited about the idea of walking into a mirror. So we got to think of what that is and what that means. If we have time later, I might dive into designing magic mirror stuff, since that also seems like it should get settled pretty dang soon before I do the other things. But the basic idea here is that you walk into a mirror and then you're in the mirror world. And as for the specifics of what that means, we still got to figure that out. But I think the broader objectives should be, by becoming your reflection or by going into the mirror world, you should be able to like walk through walls or go through screens. We're kind of missing that feeling, I think, of like walking over the HUD in Shovel Knight, or like doing some kinds of actions that like take advantage of and play off of your idea of like the bounds of the world we're not really like doing that. Everything is more like grounded and structured in a believable way. So letting you like go out of bounds or like walk through a wall seems like it should be the objective of this. We've got some glass. So this is a floor type that we've had in the game for a while, but we haven't used in like any areas. If we go to extra level scratch, where is it?
I think I remember the glass tiles from like the Kickstarter announcement trailer.
Yeah, it's in gyms. It's in Trailer Land, I think, which is an area we made just for the trailer, hence Trailer Land. But you can see how that would work when you're on top of the glass, right? You can't burrow into it because it's glass. And so you gotta like fight enemies without your signature ability. Oh no, getting cornered is like now much more of a big deal, right? This is too loud. Hold on, I can't hear myself talk. There we go.
We can't hear your game audio, by the way, if you are intending to share it.
Oh, awesome. I think I can fix that. But I don't want to figure that out. Never mind.
Sorry, that might just be on Discord. I think the stream can hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you're right. So yeah, you can't burrow into the glass, which makes it pretty similar to metal, which is another thing that we have. But, unlike metal, you can go under the glass. Whoa, so now I'm like underneath the level. This is a cool start. Obviously, we could make some pretty fun stuff with this. But, when we design other stuff for this area, we should endeavor to create cool things that can interact with the glass. So if ever there's an opportunity for like, oh yeah, and then maybe this enemy could like stab through the glass, like straight down at you, we should be like finding ways to work that in, because it's good when the enemies and the objects and everything can all like work together to create engaging and layered gameplay. So that's glass. That's already in there. So we don't got to worry about glass. We have this hand. This is, I mean, you guys could just read it over here. But the gist of this is that it's a creepy, weird hand that will crawl out of a pit when you get close to it, and then it'll grab you and pull you back down into the pit. Having something like this that is like hinting at a threat or an enemy that's like larger than you, or like so mysterious you can't even like see where they really are. You just see like a hand popping out of the pit. That seems like creepy and cool and in theme for this area. And pits tend to be like really dang useful because they create platforming pressure. You like can't be near a pit near an enemy because an enemy might knock you into the pit. It raises the stakes. It creates space that you can utilize to get away from the enemy, and it creates space that the enemy can utilize to get closer to you. So pits are super useful. They've wound up in pretty much every area in the game. But sometimes you don't want to have to create a bunch of pits, but you want the danger that they provide. And so the interesting thing about this enemy, I think, is that it allows one pit to become much more dangerous because essentially the range of the pit is increased. And it can also make you slow down and be more careful because there's like mystery involved with it too, right? You're like, am I going to get like sucked into that pit? I don't know. I'm afraid. Let me like be careful of it. Then we've got the astral encounter. I'll save that for last. And a comic pickup. It seems like each of our zones has been getting like a unique pickup. Here in the crypt, I can burrow underneath and then pick up this jar, and if I throw it, it breaks. If you played a Zelda, nothing too crazy there, right? But in some of the later areas, like you pick up something like the snowball, which can roll along the ground when you throw it and damage multiple enemies. This isn't a really good showcase of that, but here you go. If I like pick it up over here, I can roll it into both of these guys and do damage twice. So something simple and fun like that seems like it would be good for every area. What this one is going with our astral space, outer spacey kinds of themes. It's a burning meteorite, and when Mina picks it up from underneath, she starts running around all fast. So there's like a skill element to even using it, but it can be really strong to compensate for that. When you pick it up, it's so hot to the touch that she starts running around all frantically really quickly. You can turn to steer where she goes, but you can't stop her. And when she throws it, she just releases the comet, it shoots forward, and it makes a little explosion wherever it hit. So it's a powerful pickup. It has more range than normal because it can keep going forever, and it deals more damage than normal because we're putting a little explosion at the end of it. But to compensate, it's like harder to use, and picking it up might actually put you in danger. So that's the slate. That's all the enemies. That's all the objects. Obviously, they'll change and they'll morph the more time we put into them. A couple of these ones especially could change a lot and are more just like broad ideas. But from today and tomorrow, my job is to nail this down and make more concrete designs. So we're going to jump into that with the astral encounter, which is the biggest, most annoying one of these to write up and why I saved it for this stream. So this one...
It's also the coolest.
This one's pretty cool. Let's find the brainstorming sheet and see what we wrote for what this should be. Here it is.
How do we do the brainstorms, Alec, for people who don't know?
Everyone just writes ideas. We give like a few days or maybe a week ahead of time to warn everyone to brainstorm their cool ideas. And then we have this big sheet called our production document, which has 1 million tabs at the bottom for tracking everything in the entire game. We go into the objects or the enemies tab, and everyone writes their ideas. For the astral orrery, it looks like we've got ideas 191 through 275 when it comes to objects. We go through all of it. People can put their name or their initials next to it if they pitched it or if they like feel passionate about it. And we just have a big, long, super fun meeting where we talk about everyone's ideas and try to get on the same page about what we think would be cool and what we want to see in here. So this one, the random encounter. Here's the pitch. An abstract and ambiguous floating sprite you see floating around. When you get close to it, a shadow appears underneath it, and that shadow quickly grows to envelop the entire screen in darkness. So it looks and feels kind of something like this, right? You like get close to a weird sprite, and then like the whole screen gets darker. When that happens, the sprite transforms into a different enemy, one that gets defined in level design. So I can say this will turn into a slime, this one will turn into a skulker, etc. And then out of the darkness, arena that's been level designed fades in from underneath your feet. So we should probably also make some examples of like what those arenas could look like. You must defeat the enemy then that spawns there to break the illusion and return to reality. Hopefully this will create the feeling of stumbling into and defeating a random encounter in an RPG. But instead of turn-based menus and fighting, it's just all platforming action, just like everything else in the game. So basically one enemy that you can see and like walk up to that doesn't take up a lot of space, and it should be able to like move around and bump into you. Avoiding it should be like part of the gameplay, I think. If the player is like, oh shit, like I really like don't want to deal with any more of these like random encounters, I think being able to like dodge around them, that would be fun. Maybe we should give you some kind of combat way to like deal with them. Thinking more about RPGs like this, it's cool when they give you tools to better initiate or end these kinds of encounters. Like here in Earthbound, if you approach them from behind, then you get like 1 free hit in, and if they approach you from behind, then they get to start instead, and they get 1 free hit in. So it would be good then if like by attacking this random sprite at the start, you could like get some free bonus damage, or maybe you could like bat it away to like buy yourself another second of time and like maybe avoid it. That might be more fun, honestly. Yeah, that sounds better. So yeah, maybe you can like it's like floating around, and you can like kind of juggle it away. You can bat it away, but only for like half a second. It's like really trying to get at you, and so if you're really careful, you can like try to dodge it and try to smack it out of there to like not deal with it. But like chances are you're gonna get hit by it, and the fight's gonna start. Yeah, cool. Sounds like a first strike system. Yeah. What else did I say? What else did we say? When the illusory arena appears or disappears, it looks like Shadow Man stage, complete with scrolling stars in the background. Here's a link to what we're talking about. Just being like a space level in a Game Boy game, I just wanna like see some like simple abstract scrolling star backgrounds like this. This seemed like a good place to put it. But then we had another idea. Earthbound battle backgrounds. Here's a cool website that someone made. So if we're gonna riff on Earthbound even more, maybe it'd be cool instead to do something like this. Where when you go here, the background is abstract and weird, just like the shooting stars example, but maybe it could be even more abstract and even weirder. We have like technology in the game already to make like weird palette shifting, scrolling, distortion-y kind of effects. So like maybe we could use that to do something like this. I could spend the next hour just like mocking up cool visuals in game based on the tech that we have, but I'm not gonna do that. That's an artist's job.
We're just gonna make Sandy animate 100 different things.
Well, this should be pretty simple. This website's cool, by the way. If you just Google what I Googled, you could find it. But like basically the way all these are constructed is just like two layers that overlap with like some kind of distortion pattern being applied to them. And so they get a lot of mileage just out of like combining these in like weird ways. This weird thing even has like a randomize button, and wow, look at all the neat things that you can make.
This is why tech artists exist, because like people like me who are more animators or character artists don't want to do stuff like this at all.
I love shit like this though. So yeah, maybe the backgrounds look something like that when you're in there. What else do we say? It also ducks the regular level music, and a JRPG battle theme starts or comes in dynamically, like Yoshi drums. Yoshi drums being like when you're playing Super Mario World and you hop on Yoshi, those like bongo drums like seamlessly integrate themselves into the track. Maybe the final boss of this area even nests multiple of these encounters within each other. Therefore, to free yourself from the orrery, you must fight a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. Ooh. Maybe that would be like some fun theming and a clever way to reuse an existing system. So that's the random encounter. Let's start working on it. What do we need? An enemy approaches. Prepare yourself. All right. So to start, let's just say what this thing is. You see an ambiguous floating sprite aggroing. When you get close enough to it, let's say, how far is close enough, chat? Grid game. If I'm like if I'm here, how far away should it have to be? Maybe like that far away? So enough for you to like see it on screen, but not enough for it to like cheese you. 1, 2, 3, 4, like five tiles away. It starts moving around more erratically. Moves towards Mina with big orbital confusing movement. The idea here being it needs to like it shouldn't be easy to avoid these things, and just like given the fact that in this game you have a burrow that like lasts that long, that lets you like go underneath basically everything, that makes it really easy to dodge things if you want to. This should be something that is very difficult to dodge, though. We want you to do these encounters, and the player shouldn't be feeling like they're so annoying they wouldn't want to, and they shouldn't be feeling like it's so easy to avoid them they may as well. So it should move at you quickly, but it should move at you in such like an erratic or like weird way that maybe you'll read it wrong and like bump into it anyways. Being able to like read its movement, I think, that's an important piece of this puzzle. I actually started. I have an image of like what this thing might look like already. Let me copy this over. Here, I'm pasting that in the Discord chat just so I can copy and paste it because I don't know an easier way to do that. There we go. Copy image. Cool. Delete all this. So let's say that you're walking into this weird cube. And I won't get into the reasons why it should look like that, but rest assured, me and Sandy already talked about it.
There's good logic behind it.
Yeah, there's really cool, good, spoilerly logic behind it. Okay, so there's that. Let's grab Mina, get her in here. Let's say that you're 5 tiles away. 1, 2, 3, 4, roughly about 5. That seems good. And let's draw the path that it should take. So like ultimately it's like moving in this direction, but we want some like secondary movement on there that like makes it a little bit more tricky to deal with. So let's like make that more transparent. It could have some like sign-based movement, right? So it could do something like that. I feel like we do that a lot though. Like a lot recently. Maybe we don't want to be doing that here. It could be something like that, but the amplitude of the wave is like in flux. So let's say the wavelength were consistent and it's like every tile and a half, like this, right? But the amplitude to get there could be like random. So it like sweeps really large, and then it like sweeps like a little bit, and then it like barely sweeps, and then it does like a big sweep. Like that. Maybe that'd be cool. Is this making sense to like anybody?
Yeah, it's just a fairly erratic pattern that you could possibly predict if you see it often enough, but it would be hard and you'd have to like really study it.
Yeah, so like here, we can simulate the gameplay. Mina's over there, it's like, but it's always like, you can sense that it's like moving at you, but boy, it sure does weird movely. Move weirdly.
That's its name, Move Weirdly.
I haven't had coffee this morning, by the way. So caffeinated cherry cola sparkling water is gonna start. It needs to start hitting real soon. Yeah, maybe that would be cool. What else could it do? How else could it move? I feel like this gives you like one vector that's consistent. It's like speed towards you, and so that maybe it like will still be followable, even though like this other vector is like random and requires you to adapt. And you also want to be thinking like, you know, there might be like multiple of these kind of coming at the player all at the same time. So you want that to be something that can be dealt with. Isn't it possible? Okay, but I like this. I like this motion. Why don't we say we'll keep it, and then I'll make some clear lines that like show what's happening here. Let's make this a different color. And we'll really make this clear. It's like every X tiles. Boom. 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 Yeah, maybe it being like more dense is actually a good thing. So it has like a lot of opportunities to cross you up. This is an equidistance. Half, one and a half there.
What if it moves in like a Morse code sort of pattern where it's like
What?
short dash, long dash.
Short dash, long dash.
Sandy, what does it spell?
Lionel.
It's gonna spell orrery.
Here's a question. If you hit one of these, like sometimes in RPG, like when the battle initiates, like other ones will like come up, right? Should we do anything like that? So you gotta like fight both of them at once?
What if they fight each other?
What?
One box goes into the other box.
And then their enemy AI makes them fight. We can't do that.
Whichever one hits you first, do you fight that one in like that separate space? Or if they converge, like in Earthbound, does it become a group, like a fight with both of them at the same time?
I think you just gotta do one at a time. Now that I'm thinking about it, anything else is like too crazy.
I feel like we keep saying that we want like a simple thing, too.
Yes.
Like if they both combine and it becomes like a really complicated thing, then it's not a simple thing anymore.
Sometimes it helps to have these voices of reason. Thank you. Thanks. Alright, so that's cool. And then we'll say like
I was out for a second. Is this one spitting out a projectile and that's its path?
No, this is
Or
the
is
path
this like a big...
this is the random encounter sprite. And so if you touch it, this like cube expands. You go inside the cube. And this is like the weird path it'll take to like try and hit you.
Okay, so that's like its motion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could do that. Cool.
Wavelength is consistent. Direction is consistent. Amplitude is random. And then to drive this point home, we're going to draw a couple more underneath it that show other paths it could take. So maybe...
Sometimes it does the square dance. Sometimes it does a hop.
Are these things affected by collision, or do they fly over all that?
Well, you know what, Michael? That's a great question.
I was just realizing, like, that path can take a lot of space, and we don't have a lot of big spaces.
Sure, it sure can, and it sure will. Okay, let's close. Actually, wait, no, bring that back. Where's my...
Yeah, this will inform...
There it is.
Michael, your question will inform my life significantly.
Movement. Boom. There we go. By the way, if you pledge to get a copy of the GDD, the game design document, that's what this is. So look forward to...
have you never showed this on a...
No, I do all the
stream?
time, but...
Oh.
But hey, here you go. It's a rotating cube. When you get close to it, it starts moving around.
I love that, like, you've reached one of the harder levels of the game, and you have to fight a cube.
Dude, I love fighting cubes.
I love that.
The game of
Cubes
the
are like-
year, Tears of the Kingdom. That's like one of their like 5 enemies is fighting some cubes.
Hell yeah.
Nothing's more dangerous than an aggroed cube.
Nothing. This isn't really big orbital confusing movement. This is like unpredictable sign movement. Okay. But shouldn't do that forever. After it gets past the player, it idles for a beat. So if you do dodge it, it should like stay there for like a second. 1 second, about. Then can aggro again. Initiating battle. If it touches you, the arena morphs. But also we should put in Michael's question also. Combat properties. Floats above the ground. Always floats above the ground. With a shadow just underneath. Can pass through all walls. We don't need this thing getting stuck on collision. Thundering asked the perfect next question, which is, will it notice or touch you when you're burrowing? Can see you while burrowing, but cannot interact with you. This is like a little unclear, actually.
Do you think it would be useful to have any of these guys like patrolling on splines too? Or is that too different from like the core movement?
No, that would be useful. I mean, this is like just when they aggro at you, but like what they're doing before that, I think we could keep open.
Yeah, if they have an interesting idle behavior, that would be good to know ahead of time.
Can follow a spline before being aggroed.
From the chat, what does spline mean?
A spline is a line with.
It's a super line.
it's a segmented line, right?
Probably, but I like super line.
Basically,
I've never heard super line, but I like it.
This thing that I just drew, this is a spline. These are nodes of the spline. So when we say something like, whatever I just wrote 1 second ago, can follow a spline before being aggroed, that means that, let's open September for an example. This is the one that I go to when I need to copy paste it. That means that like these guys can follow this line, so they're gonna like patrol this path continuously until I aggro them, which is to say I get close enough to them that they'll start attacking me.
For our usage, I think spline and path are pretty interchangeable on this game. Right?
Yeah.
So whenever we say spline, in most cases you can assume that we just mean path.
Or if we have like a moving platform or like a hazard we want to like go back and forth, then we'll put a spline for it. Okay. Maybe, I've had this thought a few times, but maybe its aggro range shouldn't be square. It should be rectangular because the aspect ratio of the game is not square. It is rectangular. Like it could see you further from the sides than like up or down, maybe.
Maybe it has vision like a goat.
Nah, I'm just gonna reduce the range.
Square boxes with square eyes that have square.
Oh, because
pupils.
goats have those like rectangle eyes. Maybe the cube's got rectangle eyes.
I'm just gonna make this motion clearer also. The direction is constantly updating. Which is just to say that like it's homing you very well, but with this like weird logic. Gets past the player. If it touches you, the arena morphs. Okay. Do we need to like show anything for this? Yes, definitely. How should it morph, Sandy?
To do one of those cool wavy shaders as a transition.
I liked the idea of the shadow changing.
What, changing to like an angry color?
No, like let's say this is frame 1. And there's like a shadow underneath. It's like floating
The
there.
shadow like grows.
Yeah. But that like we can't really like do that, right?
I mean, we can grow the shadow while doing a global palette shift to dark, and that might look okay.
Wait, what's the purpose of making the shadow grow?
To look cool.
I don't know if it sells the idea though that you're going into the box.
You're going into the box?
That's kind of the problem with it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where the battle happens in the box.
You want like
the cosmic cube.
Wait, that's so cool. I was out for the first part of this. I forgot. That's awesome.
It's like Pocket Dungeon.
Alright, this is Mina's pocket.
Do we? I feel like if we don't have this tech already, I feel like we could use it. I don't know. That could be cool.
What tech?
Having the screen turn to black in a big expanding shape.
I just don't. Yeah, it just shouldn't be like programmatic though. You know what I think? You can't make a circle expand on Game Boy.
You know what I think should happen is Mina touches the box, and then she gets like a shock. Like her sprite rises in the air, and we could use the lightning strike pose, but it's paletted to look like spark, and so she basically turns into pure spark and then gets lightning zapped into the box, like kind of like a Pokemon going into a ball. And like as that happens, a global palette shift occurs, or like a weird shader transitions you into the new screen. Because she's going into the box, and the box is like a pure spark dimension, right? So if she like gets turned into spark, I think that would help illustrate what's going on.
I want it to feel like you're like still just walking around though. Like I feel like player control like should not be taken away during this entire time. So I don't want to like put her in like some I don't want to suck her into a Pokeball for those reasons. The Pokeball should just like expand to to then cover everything. That's
Instead
like
of scaling the shadow, would it be easier to just scale the box
uh
until it covers the screen?
yeah, I just like don't know what that would look like though. But this
Yep.
this could
The
look
box
cool,
doesn't
though.
need to be there anymore once you're in there, right? Because you're not fighting the box. You're fighting what's inside it. So what if the box, yeah, like Michael said, what if the box itself expands? Like you see those edges and the square gets bigger.
Would we just have other sprites for that? Like 6 differently sized sprites?
Yeah, I always want to avoid doing like a big complicated bespoke animation.
You just do like I mean, I don't know if it's too Super Nintendo instead of Game Boy, but like they scaled sprites and like rotated them.
Yeah,
Super
No,
Nintendo era
we can't
live.
I
do
just don't know if it
you're
would
correct.
work
That's a
good.
Super Nintendo thing, not a Game Boy thing.
Yeah.
I'm very against programmatically scaling sprites.
I got an idea.
Dude, we should do this in 3D. We should make the box like grow and spin in 3D, and then just rotoscope it.
Then rasterize it.
Yeah.
I have an idea. Why don't you guys keep everyone busy for like 5 minutes while I mock something up?
Are you opening Maya?
I want to
They
watch
did-
the art.
They
could
did
do
do what is it, Resident Evil or Ready to Rumble boxing, like proto 3D prototypes on Game Boy Color. I don't know if those games ever released, but there's some cool videos on YouTube somewhere of people attempting that look on old Game Boy hardware.
Was that the what's it called? I always forget what that tech is called. Like that a lot of those retro systems used to make warbly, like cool shader effects.
Oh, I don't know.
Never mind. It's like right on the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming.
There was a Super FX chip on Super Nintendo, and then I don't remember what techniques they used back then. But also, you mentioning Mina going into the box like a Pokeball just has me thinking of like which Pokemon is closest to Mina.
And I don't know anything.
Like Detective Pikachu, or there's got to be a better one.
Yeah, I don't know anything after the original 150.
Hey, Alec, I think somebody in chat said that the chat on stream isn't scrolling. I don't know if you need to have it up.
Oh yeah, I think Chrome like makes
It's like a plug-in thing, or yeah.
it's just a window. I think Chrome like doesn't like it sometimes if it detects it's not in use. It's like, oh, I'll stop doing that process.
Dude, you're gonna trigger people who have that phobia of holes. You can't do this.
Good.
No.
Just what I wanted.
You're gonna frighten Waz.
Yeah.
Does he have that?
Yes. He's
Ugh.
pretty serious about it too.
Good.
No holes.
I hope I make Waz pee his pants.
Oh, if he's watching, you'll hear a
He's gonna
scream
be
in the
mad.
exit room in a minute. Mode 7 is what you were looking for, Sandy?
Yeah. Mode 7.
The best mode.
The best mode. Mode 8 is terrible. Mode 6 subpar.
Mode 7, though.
It's only got it right. Yeah, Waz's trilophobia.
Trying to think if there are any like Game Boy Color specific features like Mode 7 that they try to showcase in games as a gimmick.
I mean, Game Boy could handle some fairly like some complex shader stuff, I think, at various points, especially like late in the life cycle.
One of my old coworkers made a Game Boy emulator and was telling me about the transparency and how they would do that on, I think, the OG Game Boys. I'm not sure how they did it on color,
With sprite
but it
flickering.
would just like flick on and off a layer,
Yeah.
and because
Oh,
of the
right.
hardware, like if they did it at like a certain frequency or like quickly enough, because of like the hardware, the way the screen worked, it would just make it appear transparent.
Yeah, the pixel response time was pretty low, so if you just flash between two images, you'd kind of get like an in-between just for both frames. It's one instance where having a really terrible screen can be used as an advantage.
That's Nintendo hardware thinking.
That's Nintendo thinking for you.
Genius.
It is kind of genius.
Affordable genius.
All genius has to be affordable. That's what makes it genius.
Also, somebody in chat had mentioned that the box looks like two NES controllers stacked, and I can't unsee it anymore.
It's like a cosmic cube. Those are stars. Got it.
This is definitely a D-pad now.
Yeah. You can say stars all you want. Oh, that's cool. I see what you're doing now.
Right, and then like it grows to like encompass the whole screen slowly, like each of these, but it all play out as like one big effect. So I'm imagining like it does this to transition and to like make the entire screen black. While that's happening, the camera is also centering on Mina because you might be like up here, but like we need to put you in the middle of like whatever arena you're spawning into.
So does she not have to make contact with it?
No, it has to touch you. But like but I'm just saying you could be anywhere on the screen. So like while this is happening, this effect is happening, the camera is like centering on you for like where it needs to be in a second. And then this box is like playing a cute animation where it opens like a little present. And then you get like it opening and it like encompassing everything. And it implies like that both effects are happening at the same time to do the same thing. Does that make sense?
I don't think I'm understanding the camera movement though. Like the camera should already. Do you mean like the camera zooms in? I don't think I get it because like you're.
Look.
Mina would already be in the center.
Yeah, I need an example.
Look. Let's say this bone bird is the box, right? Oh, it just hit me. I'm all the way up here. And now it needs to like warp me into an arena. When we warp you, I shouldn't be in the top right section of the arena. There might be a pit there. There might be a collision there. Like we don't know what the hell could be there because it's randomly warping you into an arena with level design. So we need to like put you in the middle of the screen where we know it'll be safe.
But if you move the camera, then you're gonna see everything outside this room.
Right, which is why we covered the entire screen first with blackness.
It would fade to black and then slide Mina over. And
okay, yeah, if we're moving the camera first, that doesn't really matter. Or sorry, if the whole thing is black first.
Yeah. Also, I'm seeing this, Alec. I realize you're just making the Earthbound battle intro transition.
Am I?
Right? Yeah.
Oh no!
When you encounter an enemy, it like will do some transition.
Oh yeah, that's different.
It burned into your brain. So you're subconscious.
Some of them will do like that effect, right? Like
yeah, I know. Hold on. Maybe it's Mother 3 that does it. I think it might just be like different
encounters.
Yeah.
Return of the Obra Dinn also has really fun like fade to black transitions.
Oh yeah, because they had the 1-bit style, right? So they had to do that.
This is like kind of doing it.
What are those? What are those rectangles?
It's like spinning it into place.
See, we gotta go 3D.
That's like so not 3D.
It's simulated.
I quit on Mother 3 after like the first hour. I was too bored. I feel like I have to go back.
You absolutely do.
Yeah, it's worth going forward. I think you'd actually really like it.
I think you mean none of us have played Mother 3 because it's not legally available in our language. So none of us have played it Nintendo.
There's nothing illegal about that fan translation.
That's true.
Look, that's true. And
was-
you know what, Michael? Look.
What's that, Alec?
I have a copy of the game, and I even have that Game Boy they made with it. So I don't want to hear nothing about me not supporting them or whatever.
Hey, somebody in chat is
I'm
asking an
just
interesting
joking.
question,
What?
which is that if we're teleporting Mina to the middle of the screen when she goes into the cube zone, like we have to then
The cube
respawn
zone.
her at a safe spot when she exits cube zone.
Yeah, it would have to put you in the same spot
Yeah,
where you like initiated it from.
or like a respawn point or something. Like if if you touch the cube over a pit, that's kind of rude. I don't want to drop her back into the pit.
Uh,
I feel like there's gonna be some interesting split second cases to think about.
yeah, we might want to put you on like a Smash Bros like floating platform thing, or like Showdown does that also. It's like, okay,
I see.
you're
You have
back.
like a second to jump off.
Yeah, like do something. Hello. Okay, we're gonna drop you in the pit. All right, here
Yeah.
goes. Bye. I think honestly we could do that like without all that work also. Why don't we just, when we bring you back, we should just make you like blinking. And you're like invulnerable and you can like walk on pits basically. You know, it's like, hey, it's like you have a second to like get your bearings. I feel like that would just be easier. We don't need like a whole thing. Let's add that. Exiting battle. You appear where at the exact spot where you initialized battle. You're invulnerable and you can walk over pits.
Now I'm envisioning, and we don't have to go through every edge case now, but somebody intentionally aggroing one of those, starting the
Yeah.
fight over a pit, exiting the fight,
Hell yeah!
finishing it to do a trick jump.
Yeah, we need
Across
some
a
like
larger pit.
5-tile pits now.
I mean, yeah, that sounds awesome.
If someone thinks it out though, and it does work, maybe we just design to allow that.
How long should you be invulnerable for? I spawned. I regain control.
1 second.
I was gonna say 3.
Half a second?
3!
3 seconds.
3?
All right, fine. 2.
You can
You
walk
get
on
pretty
a pit
far
for
in 3 seconds.
2 full seconds.
You're like the screen is all like morphing, and you're like going back to where like a bunch of crap's happening all over the place. You need like a second to like get your bearings. I
Right.
think.
I guess it depends on when the timer starts. I was thinking, how long after the screen has fully returned to normal are you still invulnerable? But if you're thinking the transition is happening during that time, that
Guys,
makes a lot of sense.
Guys, 2 seconds is not that much time.
I could be persuaded to allow 3.
2 seconds is also
'Cause
like
you have to
a really
remember-
long amount of time for games, though.
Yeah, and you were fighting the things, you probably forgot where you were, unless you're purposely trying to speedrun it.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have like forgotten where you were and like what you were doing. So we want to give you a moment to get your bearings.
That's a good question. Dr. Blue's asking, what is the normal iframe time after you get hit?
We give you like half a second, right?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
It's a little less than a second. I want to say it's like 0.75 seconds. Shorter than Shovel Knight. I know that.
All right, I think we get this concept though at this point. Is there?
Yeah, I'm gonna like skip ahead to like the last frame now.
just black.
Ooh.
I'm just hearing the Earthbound like battle start sound effect.
Du-du-du! Yeah, I mean that's gotta happen. Okay, let's export that out.
Sandy.
I'm just gonna play Earthbound and do whatever they did.
Curious what I'll do too.
Here, let's get that like present opening though. That seems
Reggie
like
asked,
maybe part of
what
it.
was the process that led to shorter iframes than Shovel Knight?
We wanted combat to be more of a big deal in this game, because it's more of a game about combat. So shorter iframes means that like when you get hit, you can get comboed and you can get hit again like pretty quickly. So it encourages you to like get out of there and to do something.
Or to prevent yourself from being in that situation in the first place.
Right. So in something like Shovel Knight, if you get cornered, you need invulnerability because you just need time to like walk out of there, and so you don't get like hit twice, especially if the enemy is like larger. But in this game, as soon as you get hit, you know what you can do is jump and go into your burrow, and like you will be safe from probably from like whatever hits you, or at least it'll like buy you some time to get out of there. And so we give you enough time for that, because that's the amount of time you need. Okay, so let's have this box open, and then we'll be done with this mock-up.
The box opens?
Yeah, dude, like a present.
An evil present.
Evil present.
Does it have like an angry little face in there?
Has whatever angry face Sandy wants to draw.
Have you been naughty or nice this year, Mina?
No.
It
Thumbs
tossed.
down.
I say naughty.
You should have a really compressed voice ask that when it opens.
Yeah. I'm sure Jake could make it work.
Should have a cool ass laugh. when
In
it
Lies of
opens.
P, when you fight the bosses for the first time, they actually have dialogue, but it's all garbled, like you can't read it. And they just make like horrible noise.
Whoa, creepy.
But I think somebody online like translated it so you can actually read it. I forget if you could I forget if you can read it in plain English if you play it again, or like if you can unlock that dialogue.
When are we gonna work on Crispy Guy? We gotta get him in the game.
I desperately want to work on Crispy Guy. I keep telling everyone so that they don't forget me. There's a certain sequence I know we have in mind that I want to do.
Shadows propagate along a grid, quickly turning the background black. The present opens and turns into a paletted version of the enemy. The enemy to their regular color. Fight begins. Okay, we want like different arenas, right? So how do those work? The screen is totally black. You get seamlessly warped to a random arena set up in its own TMX. Those are level files.
So this is kind of interesting. This is the first entity in the game we've had that like comes with its own level design, like prepackaged, right?
Yeah, it should be
Where
like
do you-
pretty simple. But I feel like part of it being a random encounter should be that like stuff in here should be randomized.
Maybe we could choose from like a handful of different room options.
Right, I think that's what it'll be.
I'm trying to do something like that now.
Whoa, really? For what?
For the boss I'm working on. I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the one you're just
Yeah.
starting?
Yeah, I just talked to David about it.
Nice.
Okay. So like, what do these arenas look like? They're probably like full screen, just like this. You should be able to like walk on all this though.
You know, in Mario 3, in the last world, there's like those tiles you can move through, and if you like there's a random chance like a hand will grab you and pull you into the level.
Yeah, and the Bowser world.
Yeah,
Oh no.
that's kind of what I've been envisioning.
Where do you got a hand that pulls you?
Yeah, but like the background, I think in those levels are like all just like all black, I think.
In the
But then
level
like the
itself?
foreground is like, yeah,
Yeah.
think so. But then the tiles are like the regular tiles in the foreground. And it creates like a kind of cool contrast.
Oh no. I just ordered lunch online and I accidentally ordered double of what I wanted to get. Oh no.
Happy birthday.
This is what Michael's
Happy
talking
birthday,
about.
Bridget.
Thank you.
Maybe if you
Yeah,
tell me it's your birthday, you'll get it for free.
But only one of them.
You definitely
Yeah.
will not. It could be that there's just like collision around each one, so you can like walk into the walls. That might be cool. What? These are supposed to be walkable. Here I am in the void, and surprise, my enemy will be Skulker. So like I spawned here. You should be able to set like a couple like spawn points. And then it doesn't quit until they're all dead.
Chat's
That's
asking if there's a tile set you envision this using. Would like every tile set be on the table, or would it just be Astral Orrery?
Well, we talked about the backgrounds being that like cool, wacky, like Earthbound programmatic battle background stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm imagining like straight up just put where, do I have that tab open still? Like just like one of these randomly like put one of these behind the characters and you just like fight on top of it.
Oh, you're just like walking on the background?
Yes, you're walking on a
Uh.
weird scrolling abstract trippy background.
Gotcha.
But some of the fun of it being arenas is that we can like make arenas So that means that, like, what do we need in here? The ability to make, like, pits, spikes, and just, like, regular collision that you, like, would bump into. So each of those needs, like, a way that it can represent itself. Spikes, that's, like, easy enough. There can just be, like, spikes floating in the void. Collision, I feel like that's easy enough. We could just make, like, abstract weird, like, cubes that, like, pop up. And if you're always gonna have a consistent spawn point in the middle, then that means, like, we don't need to worry about what happens if you, like, spawn where there's collision or something. But how do we represent a pit when you're, like, on, like, a weird abstract background? That is a question I still have. How do we, like, do that? Anyone got any brilliant ideas?
Could you
I was
repeat
literally going to ask you that.
Well, could you repeat how abstract the background is? Is it just like, is it like the Cardia
Shape.
fight? Is
It's
it just like
this
nonsense?
abstract.
Is it going to be moving the entire time?
Yes. It'll look
I think
just
the
it'll look
pit-
just like this.
The pit
I
can
think
just be
falling
black.
into that should be the pit, right?
I thought that too, but the problem there is that means that the playfield has to be tiles, and so you won't get to see as much of this, like, cool effect as you would if it was the opposite.
Yeah.
Alright,
But
it
I-
could just be black.
But, like,
The pit can just be black. Just straight black.
Good idea, Sandy. Here, let's get
We
one
also
of these.
have, Sandy, in the tile set, aren't you also working on like sparkly texture under pits? I feel like we could do, right, that like sparkly pit. Am I
Yeah, we
remembering
could
that correctly?
potentially use that. Yeah, that's what the default pit is going to look like for the like normal area, the normal PF in this zone.
You can just have the ground tiles could just be like glass. So then players have to just look for the edges of the glass if they don't want to fall into the pit.
Then we can only
Potentially,
do things
then you
on
can
glass.
burrow. Yeah. Can't burrow if you do that.
What's one
Yeah,
of
get
these
good.
with like a mostly black background? I just want one that I can like use for the mock-up. That's pretty cool.
Some of these seem like a bit too much.
That's what makes them awesome. Starman, that seems. Oh yeah! All right, this is the one I'm going with. Cool. Oh my god, it's so awesome already.
You can put it in our palette and drop it in a tile set.
Oh, should I?
It'll probably work. That's the old palette, though.
256.
Yeah, that one.
144. This palette. Hey, it's basically the same.
Wait, is that remapped already?
Yeah.
Whoa! That worked pretty well.
It's almost like we got ourselves a well-designed palette here.
Sometimes I wonder.
What?
Okay, so let's make a new layer. And I'm thinking like just weird, like cool rainbow blocks. That sound cool, Sandy?
What?
Like just something like this. Why isn't my control key working? The heck?
Are
You're
the
losing control.
are the
Losing
solid color
control.
blocks meant to be pits or something else?
Solid color blocks? What solid color blocks?
The pink cube square
That's collision.
that you're drawing. Okay.
Or it's attempting to be. Promotion's like not working right for me.
Do you have caps lock on?
No. Whatever. Back to Photoshop I go.
You're saying
It's
if
like
a
it's just
pit
not updating.
is like a solid colored square?
Who you talking to? You talking to me?
Yeah,
Sorry,
'Cause if
I'm
the-
not paying attention to anyone right now.
if the playfield has that much black in it, then we can't use black as pits.
Maybe we could. Like if this was gonna be.
Could use white.
Yeah, potentially it could be white.
Could be like this kind of thing though. That you do sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if it's outlined like that. Yeah, true. That could work.
It's like too bright.
That's pretty low contrast though.
I mean, if the background's moving, it'll probably still stand out.
Yeah, I forgot to be moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I don't throw up, I'll definitely avoid the pit.
What if we did
That's
a
part of the
magic
challenge.
eye effect, and then wherever there appears to be depth, when you're doing the magic eye, that's where the pits are.
Whoa, parallaxing dynamic pits. Careful throwing out such cool ideas, Michael. I might actually do one day.
No.
Careful what you wish for.
No. No magic eye gameplay. I'm not gonna scope it out, but I'm just gonna assume it's out of scope.
Maybe it needs that like dotted pattern, I think. That's like what's missing. For it to read as a pit.
But yeah,
Those like
starting to read.
side dots or whatever those are.
Edge dots. Ledge dots.
The pit should be the Photoshop like transparency background, checkerboard.
Oh, cool.
Not that sure.
That'd be
but I-
kind of meta. It's like a real
That's
alpha.
better.
pit.
It seems like if the pit
I mean, so
Yeah,
far this looks pretty awesome. And then
is too noticeable.
uh
If we have that sparkly texture in there, that'd be super fun.
in the pit.
Yeah, it's that default pick texture that Sandy was making.
This could like
For this zone.
could have some delicious looking highlights.
Is this the cube?
No, these are just regular collision.
Did you say delicious looking highlights?
Yeah, these should look
Nice.
these. I feel like these should look like tasty. It's like collision.
Yellow block.
Alright,
It's
I
like
gotta
some
go pick
simple
up the
stuff
double
like
lunch
that.
I ordered. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bridget.
Everyone tell Bridget happy birthday.
Oh, thank
Happy
you.
birthday, Bridget!
Yay.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya. Oh yeah,
Whoa.
cool. And so like, you could have just like weird collision that's made on top of it.
Gotta have spark crackle effects over the whole screen, just like popping in and out.
This might be a lot of effects, bro.
This is the place to do it.
This is starting to look like something. Here you
Looks like a face. Looks like eyes and a Mina nose.
What else did we say would be in here? Spikes. Do you think I need like fences in here?
Should it be wiggly spikes?
I was thinking that maybe.
Gotta bring back the wiggly spikes. And they're all rainbow colors.
I feel like
I'll add a note just in case.
in this weird dimension, I feel like it would be fun if the edge of the screen acted like the Pac-Man screen edge, where you just like come out on the other side.
Screen wrap.
Oh yeah, green wrap.
That's like a whole separate feature though. I like where your head's at, but
That's a great idea,
there we go.
especially because there's no actual collision on the edges. So it would be weird that we have like collision in the out of bounds.
I'm dreading how much work it might take to have like attacks loop across the edge of the screen, but
I mean, we already kind of have that tech because we did it in Shovel Knight.
You just gotta spawn two of
Huh?
everything. The hard part is deciding like where the combat is and how to extend it. Like, you implement that, and then the first bug that happens is that like Mina's whip is going here to like here. Here's Mina.
right.
And like only one of these is gonna have a combat box, like probably the one that you're on, and so this one doesn't. And so the hard part is going through the entire game and making all the combat like make sure that it can have a duplicate phantom version of it. Basically, that's like why it's annoying and time consuming, and that would be worth it. Maybe for something else, but not for just like some small. This idea already has like enough going into it, I think. Sandy, I'm thinking like maybe just black on like everything that's not like a weird background.
Yeah. That seems like it would make sense.
Cool. All right, that looks awesome. And now we just need a cool enemy to populate it, our cool screenshot we're making. So I'm gonna grab a different color. I'm gonna green screen this guy real quick. Cool, got him. This guy pops up. Copy all this and put it in right here.
So once you put all these screenshots and write up all the bullet points in this document that you're doing right now, Alec, what's the next step for kicking off an enemy or object for a level? Where does this go?
All this stuff then goes to a programmer. And the program, or no, sorry, it goes to an artist. Usually at the bottom of this, I'll also make an asset list. That's missing from all of these at the moment. And it's like, all right, dynamic, space, background, 10 arenas to randomly cycle between cube. What are we calling this? The spark cube. That needs like idle animation, spin animation, opening animation, shadow expanding animation. So I would like write up all that stuff, and then Sandy would go ahead and make any art assets that are required. That then goes to a programmer who reads this document and takes all the art and then hooks it all up to make it actually real and working and cool. And then and then it goes back to me. And then once we've done enough of that for one area, we can just go ahead and start doing the actual level design, putting the game together.
And it goes to Sandy if you know what you want the thing to be or to look like, right? But sometimes there's stuff that doesn't necessarily go to Sandy yet.
Yeah, sometimes, like this, I feel like we know pretty good what it looks like. But even then, like the exact concept of what this like sparky cube tesseract thing is, maybe we could like use some more idea generation there. So oftentimes we'll send this to Morgan, who will draw some quick black and white concept art, and then Sandy can look at that and pull from that when he's doing the actual pixel art.
Dr. Blue asks, how many passes does new content get before it's finalized when you start development?
How many passes? Let's count. First, it's like I write up some crap. Usually I'll like send, once I feel good about all of it, I'll like send it all to other members of the team and try to get like feedback or see where my blind spots might be. So that's like the second pass. Then Morgan's concept art pass, Sandy's pixel art pass. A programmer will do a pass. Lead programmer will then like look at it and like make sure it's all like working good. Then it like goes to me to like make sure that it's all working as we imagined, as we all intended. So that's 7 passes.
And it's not
Isn't
really
that
getting
fun?
like revised every single pass, but like the main intent is when you write this up, it goes down the pipeline and gets implemented to your spec. But people do have input or questions that might not be clarified as it gets to their step.
Right.
Right. So it gets a review each step of the process. And speaking of stuff that sometimes need concept, once you wrap up on this object, do we want to look at something that you had Morgan do a concept pass on and figure out feedback to give on that thing?
Sure. Are you talking about something specific?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw what Morgan posted yesterday in the afternoon, but it seems like he had a pass on something for this area.
Oh yeah, I don't.
That might be worth looking at
I don't.
while we're on stream.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to do that on stream.
That's fine too.
We could.
We got plenty to kick off.
We'll talk about that off stream. Okay, yeah, I do need to respond to that though. Thank you, Michael. Okay, arena assembly in battle. Let's try to fill out more of these bullet points. We can extend this as long as we want, but we did say the stream would go till 2, and that's only 15 minutes. Oh gosh. This is like not necessary. Additional details. Okay, arena assembly. In a separate .tmx file called astral arenas. There are handcrafted arenas consisting of patterns of floor tiles, collision tiles, spike tiles, pit tiles. I cannot type today. Consisting. How many arenas?
Hmm,
8.
5?
Because it depends how easy or hard they are to make.
I mean, these seem like they would be extremely easy to make. It's just like single screen like areas that don't have to focus at all on like routing. They're just like make some arenas basically.
So you're saying how many arenas we have, like types?
Yeah, and like should there be different difficulties, you know? How should the content be doled out? And like when you encounter one of these in the level, like how do you know how difficult it's gonna be? Those are like the questions.
We could have 3
now.
types of boxes. I would assume that the sprite, before you engage the encounter, the sprite would let you know how hard it will be if we're going to do that. But why would we have multiple difficulties? Like, being in Astral Orrery should kind of tell you what the difficulty would be like. So if we have easy, medium, hard, then that seems counter to the level of difficulty that the zone already should be.
Well, it's still within a level. You have like easier rooms and harder rooms. I don't think that's true.
Well, you build level setups based on what complements the enemy behaviors, right?
Typically,
And we have 5 potentially 5 enemies we would use in these.
I think these could potentially contain enemies from anywhere in the game.
I think
Is my expectation.
it would make sense if the pool was like bigger than normal, I think. This is like taking up a slot, but it's not like an enemy or a thing itself. You know, it's like it's a wrapper for like other content. So I think we could pull in like more content than normal. Like like hell, I put Skulker in like the example here. He's like not on this level.
This also though, this adds to or eats into the room budget per area as well. So if this does like have a gigantic permutation of rooms that might need to get built, then that might also secretly be expanding the scope of rooms that we're planning for Astral Orrery.
Yeah, that's why they shouldn't be terribly complex. Okay, maybe here's a question. Like, should the enemy and the arena be linked? That's like the first question. Meaning, when I jump into here, do I have an expectation that like what am I building here and like tiled? Are each of these like arenas with like enemy spawn positions? Or is it like it cycles these enemies out based on like some other random thing? What would be the most fun and surprising and cool and unique?
You know, it would be cool. I think the most fun version of this, at least to me, is if we took all the enemies in the game and categorized them easy, medium, hard, just like a one-on-one fight, and then created arenas using that, saying spawn 2 easy, 1 medium enemy, spawn 3 easy enemies, spawn 1 hard enemy, and it could be anything from the game. Like it could be a bramble plant, it could be a big frog, it could be 3 raccoons.
Whoa.
That I think the surprise of that, it has its own appeal, and is fun to be surprised, not never knowing what you're gonna get. At the same time, it seems like a lot of our setups have been like highly authored to suit the behaviors of specific enemies.
Yeah, like bramble plant like needs to like go like on tile, right? If he's like slightly off grid, that like messes him up.
That might be an exception then that we couldn't use.
Yeah. I think
select that specific list.
I think we could pick like 10 things that could spawn in here. And they could be set up to be random like that. I think that would be more fun. So you're making arenas. Let's say there's like 10 of these, and they each got like a different collision and tile layout. And then they just have these like entities that are like stand-ins. It's like enemy here, enemy there. This one has like enemy here. This one's like enemy there and like there. And then at runtime, it swaps these out with like something based on a list. Or do I like type in here like what enemy I want it to be? Or do I type?
That seems like too much work.
Do I type like easy, medium, or like hard enemy?
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I think that way we can cater it in the sense that we're not making the encounters too impossible or like too crazy. Like you don't want 4 big frogs if there are 4 entities in the room.
Yeah,
but we could say yeah,
that can't be the first thing that you see. But also, if you die and you retry, you want these to be new encounters, I think, or at least to like kind of feel like it. So therefore, enemies and arena are independently randomized. Final answer. And there needs to be a way to dictate the difficulty of the encounter, and when you do that, it should limit the enemy pool, and that's how it should work.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
All right, what were you gonna say, Michael?
No, I like final answer and wrapping up the spec and getting that kicked off to Sandy. I think there's some questions programming might have when it actually comes time to implement it, but we can have those conversations if those questions come up at that time.
Who would have thought the producer would say they like final answer?
When decisions are made, I try to encourage moving things along when possible. And
Very diplomatic.
if questions are important, then the people who will have them sometimes will bring them up if they're relevant down the line. Matthias was asking, while you're writing that down, Alec, what the main topics / order is of the GDD.
You organized it, Michael.
Based on kind of the organization you had already.
Yeah, I see the question now. What are the, how do we structure the GDD? Is there structure that works in general that's like good for you, or does it depend a lot on the game? I mean, it depends a ton on the game, but in my experience, we've mostly been making well-rounded, big adventure kind of games with like a lot of like enemies and bosses and the same categories of stuff, basically. I would not say this is the perfect way to structure it, and sometimes I still move things around, but index, that's just links to all the other things, so don't worry about that. Overview, that's like where we go, this is like where the game was like pitched initially. This is like the first page that got written. Here's like how it should look. Here's like how the collision should work. Here's how the shadows work. There's a lot of like more technical stuff about like everything in the entire game. Here's some like structure about the entire game, and like where stuff goes and how it works. Systems is like gameplay mechanic stuff. Basically anything the player does is in here. And that goes from big things like how does the burrow work, to small things like when you use a sidearm, it needs to say -3 somewhere. Where does that go and what does that look like? Everything in the whole game gets designed. So yeah, dying, getting hit by things, interacting with NPCs, all the actions basically that you're doing are in here. Weapons, that's self-explanatory. Any like weapons and sidearms are in there. Trinkets and upgrades, also self-explanatory. Those are like the trinkets you'll get. Enemies, this is like the longest document, like this and like gameplay objects and stuff. This is where we put all the enemies. And so as a result, it can get pretty lengthy. All the stuff used to just be in a super long Uber GDD, and it was like 400 pages, and Google Docs like couldn't load it. That's why it's in like separate files for each chapter now.
Yeah, it'd take like 20 seconds to load the doc sometimes.
Don't worry, we'll get there again soon, I'm sure. Bosses, I'm not going to click on. Nice try. NPCs and events. Anytime we have like an NPC or a quest or like a more complicated world interaction, that like goes in there. Story and world. This is more about like story and like backstory, and but towards the bottom it starts getting more into like the lore of the area and like more specific details about the things in that area. Menus, this is the most boring one of all. It's like going through all the menus and how they work. How do text boxes work? Here's the Bone Stone machine. Look at this cool graphic. And then anything that doesn't fit in all that goes in here in the additional features. So something like the fishing mini game. It's like I don't know where to put this, so this just like goes in here. Okay, let's see. We got 4 minutes. What else can we wrap up in here? Fight assembly. Enemy placement positions are defined too, though the enemy itself will be randomized. A difficulty prop can be defined tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Dictates the enemies that can spawn in. I'm not sure this is like a great system though, because like sometimes you want like, a lot of the times you want like one big enemy and like 2 smaller guys, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't want it to be that granular, or you want it to be more granular than just like an enemy of the hard
Well,
goes in here.
What? Give me an example of a big enemy that's not hard.
Let's say this is a hard fight that's supposed to have a skulker and 2 goopers. How do you get the goopers in there? Because they're not hard. But you want
They're
them
easy.
in there.
Yeah, you put 3 entities, 1 hard and 2 easy.
I see. So does each arena need like the same number of enemy spawns?
I don't see why. Why couldn't you have an arena that's just 1 hard enemy?
Because these are supposed to be randomly assembled. So if the random assembly is 2 easy and 1 hard, and then the arena only has 1 spawn point and not 3, then like what does it do?
No, I don't think that would be possible, right? The arena would have the entity layout, and then it would randomly pull from the spreadsheet based on the parameters that were set. So the arena would say 1 hard, 2 easy, because it would have 3 entity rects, and then those would get populated randomly based on what we've put in the sheet.
Okay, so enemy spawns and arena layouts are linked, is what you're saying. This arena always has 3 enemies.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I guess that'd be fine if you could also specify, like, at an easy difficulty, this enemy is null. No one's there. Okay, so let's say easy, medium, or hard. We'll also say a bespoke encounter can also be set up. Just in case we want to like guarantee that you fight whatever, so-and-so.
Shadow Lionel.
Right.
Just by bespoke encounter, you mean we probably need programming to set up the ability to type in a specific ANX or like a specific enemy name, right?
Right. It's like at the end of this big leg of level design, there's one more, you know, and in this one, it's always you fight 2 skulkers, because that's how you always want it to end, or whatever.
Cisco is asking, what happens to your spark if you die in this thing?
It would go into the cube. Programmer is gonna love that.
And so when you win the fight, that's killing the cube, and then you get the spark back.
Yes.
That's actually a good question, though, because if you're fighting enemies in the cube, the enemy is what would pick up your spark. But if you go back into the cube because you died, that enemy likely won't be there anymore.
Right, which is why it can't work like that.
Right.
It could just be floating there every time, like in the
Yeah.
but next time you're there, it's going to be random. It has to like go to the cube, and you have to defeat the cube to get it, because you're not fighting these enemies. You're fighting this cube that is like creating a simulation of these enemies.
When you kill an enemy, I can't recall, does the spark just pop out, or does it immediately fly into you?
It immediately goes into you.
Okay. So then if you do start a fight over a pit
bones.
with one that has your spark in it, then there shouldn't be an issue with your spark falling.
Yeah, even if the spark falls over a pit, it should just float there.
It floats, yeah. Okay.
But the other question is, how many sparks can it contain? Because generally enemies have a max number of sparks they can hold. Well, but this cube has no health bar.
It could have a
It
health
could
bar.
But you would never see it because you don't attack it.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
It would have like an invisible health bar with spark slots that you just don't see, maybe.
Something like that.
Well, Alec was saying at the start, you can kill it if you're careful without actually fighting it. So it is worth defining its health at some point.
Well,
Because that was the first discussion about its movement patterns, is like, how difficult should it be to try to kill it before you engage the battle inside of it?
oh,
Like that was the first part before we even started defining what the battle inside of it would look like.
I thought that was just avoiding it touching you.
I think, Alec, you were saying you could still kill it, right? It's just we want it to be very hard to do so because that's essentially skipping content.
I was thinking you can't kill it, but you can like bat it away a little bit. If you
Oh, I see.
to kill it, you gotta encounter it. There shouldn't be like a quick kill.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
When you come back, the cube has your spark. If you defeat the encounter, the cube dies, and you get your spark back. That all makes sense and works. Yes. Yes, it does.
So
Okay.
So this enemy, it just has unique transitions, an array of areas it can load into, a sub-array of a variety of enemies selectable on a random enemy generation system that you have to be able to sometimes specify enemies in, and it stress tests the outer bounds of our spark system.
Yep.
Not bad. That's how you know it's a good enemy. When it has a unique set of problems, you know you're doing something unique for the level.
That's the yacht club
Very-
verse. Everything we do is some unique new thing.
Even if it's just a cube, doesn't mean it's simple.
this dumb cube is gonna be the most complicated thing in the game. I'll be sure of that. This dictates the pool of enemies that can spawn in. These are set up in a what's the file called? .h file.
All right, and I gotta run to a meeting for another project. Alec, did you want to keep going on this for a little bit longer, or are you gonna wrap it up as well?
Let's wrap up this spec. It seems like it's nearly done. You need to press the end button though, don't you? At some point.
Yeah, but I can head out and just watch the stream and end it whenever you stop streaming.
Okay, yeah, I think we'll be wrapped in like 10, 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
And then I'll move on to the next thing.
Oh yeah, and get Morgan that feedback on that other thing that we will talk about later with folks.
Right, I'll do that first.
He's still working on it, by the way.
Oh, is he making new concepts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, enjoy the rest of the stream, and I will catch everybody later.
See ya.
This pool is also set up in a .h file. What else do we need to know?
You see a floating spray.
The enemies all come to life with a palette shift effect. They are invulnerable until they have fully materialized, like surprise spawns.
How are the bones going to be calculated? Is it going to be literally based on the enemies that were inside it, or is it a separate cube bone award?
I feel like it might be better if it was separate.
Yeah.
Like then I feel like we shouldn't have like blue, red, and green cubes for like the different difficulties. Like
No, no.
it should be random. But like the amount of bones it rewards when it's done could clue you in to like what difficulty it was, whether it gives you like 10 or 25 or 50. You're like, oh, that was an easy one, that was a medium one, that was a hard one.
Yeah. I think the only thing that would stink there is if you get fewer bones than the enemies that were inside were worth. As long as it's, I think, always
I
at
think,
least equal
I
or
think
more.
that's part of it. Sometimes you get less, sometimes you get more.
What?
And then that's that's random, baby. That's how it goes.
Bummer.
I mean, we're also, this is like, I don't know. I think we get more out of creating this interesting distinction than we lose out of like, oh no, we cheated the player out of 10 bones. It's like, whatever, who cares? That like doesn't matter.
I will say those bone values seem really low, given like how hard leveling will be by the time you're at that zone.
Yeah, you're right. How about this? I like that it's so like disparate though. That's cool.
Yeah, but 10 bones, that's like that's trash.
Dude, guys don't award that much here. How much does Skulker give now? He gives 40.
40?
Yep. So that seems about right. And I'd say he's a medium guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay.
Man, I wish we could have their eyes come in first.
Yeah, we'd have to do a lot of custom stuff for that.
I know, that's why I wanted to do it a while ago. 'Cause don't you remember
Ian's idea?
was it Ian's?
Or maybe it was yours. It was no, I think it was Ian's. Yeah.
The idea of like on the death screen, you could like still see
Yeah.
their eyes. If
Yep.
if we were already keying that, then we could like play with that here.
Yep.
For the audience, we had an idea that like on the screen, when you like it all goes red because you die, we were like maybe like the enemy's eyes could always still light up. And so that would be like a separate color that we're always like tracking, and we could like exclude from this effect. And if we had that, then when they come to life inside the cube, we could have them start at like black, and then like their eyes could come in. But anyways, we can't do any of that because we don't have that. Maybe for Mina too. Yeah, I think this is just them starting on black, and then while the background like fades in, they're also fading in.
Right. The background fades to black, and then like right before it's fully black, they fade in from black, maybe.
Right. Yep. We're imagining the same thing.
Or would it be cooler if the background, like the wacky background, comes in first, and then they all surprise spawn in? Like they go.
You think they should poof in?
I think it would be neat. I think that would add to the surprise factor a little bit.
I'm imagining like everything goes black first, right? So we're like here, and that thing's opened. And then from there, the enemy, like the background, fades in, and the arena is like fading in. So like now there's all this. And like you never left. So like now you're here, and the camera's like looking at you. And then where's Mr. Skulker?
Mr. Skulker.
Didn't I have one? There he is.
That's Mr. to you.
So then I think like from here, it spawns all of the enemies, but they're like in black. So for frame 1 of this, you can't see them. But then like this palette's in, right? But like there's some like shadowy figures still around. And then they start like paletting in like that. Like
Yeah. I think that would be fine too. I think that's basically the same.
And then they're like real and you can fight them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they were in the darkness the whole time, basically, instead of them like poofing in. BG fades in from black. Enemies start paletted black. And fade back in after the BG does. Enemies are invulnerable until they fully materialize, like surprise spawns. BGs are wacky screen distortion effects set up in their own TMX. It randomly assembles 2 background layers. I think that's how the Earthbound one works. It's like there's 2 background layers. Based on 2 BG art layers, 2 sets of distortion properties, and 2 color palettes that cycle. I think that's how those work.
I have no idea.
And so we would like set up all of those parameters and then it would like randomly make some stuff.
2 BG art layers. Why is it 2 BG art layers?
Just because like that's what they do.
Oh.
One and then another. You can like kind of see what they are.
I see, yeah.
They can tint them though to make them overlap. That's something we can't do. But they like do this thing a lot anyways. Where let's see if I can find a good example.
The previous one you had was good because I don't even know if it was tinted. It just had transparency.
Right.
Because it was like lines.
Right. It looks like I think
that one too.
That's what we would do instead. We'd have no transparency. We would just use this like scan line kind of pattern. Which is weirdly popping up in like a lot of places. But that's cool. Yeah. With scan lines between to create separation. And then these are like kind of the same distortion. Is that going to mess it up? But these are like definitely 2 different ones. So I don't know, I guess we could play with it. I should like make a sample version of this, I think. Just by like kit bashing existing stuff.
Yeah, you can use some of the fog. Yeah. The fog tiles.
Yeah.
You can literally use the fog effect exactly as it is and just like palette shift it.
Yeah, I think it's like that. And then behind it, like another one, and then they just get like mixed together. It'll make some weird stuff. Once you defeat all the enemies, then what? The camera resets to where it previously was. After all the enemies have been defeated. PG. Musical fanfare plays. Background fades to black. Camera resets to where it previously was. Level background fades back in from black. Seamless.
Wow.
Maybe you don't have player control while the camera's moving. Maybe. But I think otherwise you could have player control like this entire time. Okay, get your awards. I'll make this its own category. And I'll make this yellow just to connote that it's not real yet. And then I'll just add to do make Maka TMX right there. And then the same goes for this. I feel like I should just like make all of those like weird effects, and I should make all of these arenas before any of this starts, since nothing's like blocking all that from getting made.
You could. You'd probably be better equipped to do it than anyone because you have like a strong idea of what it should look like.
Yeah. Let's add one more bit about smacking this thing, because that's not in here yet.
Should it just have the knockbacks back? Like the no damage?
What would like be most fun? It's like flying around all like weirdly, right?
It shouldn't palette flash when you hit it.
No. I'm thinking like, what's the motion when I hit it?
Oh.
If you hit the cube, its motion is interrupted and it goes into a stun state. Cube quickly gets knocked back 3 tiles. And wiggles there for a beat. Then goes back into chasing you. Or de-aggroes if you're far enough away. Does that sound cool?
Oh yeah.
So like, where's my cube? It's like I hit it, and it goes back 1, 2, 3, it goes doing, like really quickly, doing, and then it like wobbles here, like that. That's not cool, Sandy. And then it goes back into chasing me.
Very, very cool. How skilled would a player have to be to completely avoid these? We'll find out as we program it.
That's a good question though, and like it's good to like guide the programmer better by like having an answer for that. So,
I imagine it shouldn't be impossible. Like
it should be challenging to continuously bat one of these away, and it should be near impossible to
just
juggle
dodge it
more
as I walk
than
in.
one of these.
We should still account for what could happen if there are two in the same room somehow.
I think the other one just needs to like pause, I guess.
Yeah. How did Nintendo make games like Link's Awakening in less than 2 years? Mina has had the benefit of much more powerful hardware and more advanced software tools, and it's taken more than 2 years. Well,
I guess they're better. Dang.
They also probably had a lot more people than we do. Mina's team is like 5 people. We also started development during COVID, and so the first year was very difficult trying to maneuver our new team structure, which was taking the original Shovel Knight team and dividing it into 2 teams. We had to shift from like having an in-office rapport and dynamic that went to a predominantly remote dynamic, because during COVID we had to all work remotely, and then even afterward we're still sort of staggered with our office hours. So just in general, there's a lot of hurdles that we've had to overcome, in addition to the small team size, and in addition to Mina being a big game. I don't think it's a stretch to say Mina is definitely quite a bit bigger than Link's Awakening.
Yeah. Definitely more like content. But Link's Awakening might be like a longer game, just based on how much it wastes your time.
It's also a very different game. As much as Mina looks like Link's Awakening, it doesn't really play a whole lot like it. Zelda games are, more, they're puzzle heavy. There's exploration, which we have too, but Mina's core systems are centered around combat, and there aren't a whole lot of games that do top-down 2D platforming and combat the way that we're doing it. So we're sort of treading new territory, I think it's fair to say. So there's been a bit of a learning curve as well. Yeah, there are a lot of Sokoban clones. If someone was to make a Zelda-style Sokoban game, there's so much out there that you could reference.
It's always encroaching on you as soon as it's aggroed.
I'm doing a mock-up right now with some pipe tiles, and I cannot for the life of me figure out where I got these tiles.
Is it those sewer ones?
I thought it was, and there's extra ones that are not part of the sewer tile set, and I'm so confused.
Is it from that like? Is it from that picture from a million years ago I made with the bookcases?
No, because I don't even have that picture. I was actually looking for it the other day, and I was like, thought it would be because I have all the tile sheets from the demo, and it's not in there. I was like, where is that? Yeah, I have no idea. I'm very lost as to where I got these.
Didn't I attach those bookcases to this bug? Or this
M-
sheet?
It might be in a bug, but I haven't seen it.
Whatever. It's a tangent.
Yeah, Mina's definitely more like top-down Castlevania than Zelda. At least for someone who's like going into the game expecting a certain type of gameplay.
I want to get a good reference for the motion of these weird guys.
The cubes?
Yeah. It's hard though, because they do stop at collision. And like long plays often try to see if they're like caught on the sides there.
Mm-hmm.
I just want good clear footage of how they move. Why is that so hard to ask? Oh. It's kind of moving. It's like another enemy that moves, I think, that I'm thinking of.
That moves around erratically.
Yeah. I think it's like the UFO enemies.
Whoa.
That would make sense. There's some... Where are those guys? They're like around here, I remember. This like waterfall part. So you have to wait at for like 2 minutes. God, that part's so dumb. If anyone wanted to make a bunch of money from game developers, you should make some kind of website you can subscribe to that has like moments where things from games can happen in like easily scrubbable videos.
Be so hard to categorize all that.
I just need a clip of like everything from every game.
Yeah.
So I could look it up and get it without having to like watch like 5 people do a long play. It's like so
Definitely.
annoying.
You can do that with boss fights at least.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't like they don't get hit by like
Yeah.
you know, like, and you're like, well, that's great, but I need to like I'm trying to get reference for like what happens when you get hit by that thing, you know? And it's like, well, I did it 100%. It's like, ugh, this is useless. Earthbound fight UFO. Damn it, he's caught on collision. He's not moving.
Boo.
That's a stationary battle. Here's another long play. That's a mushroom enemy. Where are they fighting this UFO? It's over here. Come on. Yeah! See that? Like, yeah, alright. There. That's good reference. Start there. See how he's like moving around
Whoa.
and then like stopping and like moving around some more.
Whoa, wacky.
Yeah. I like that a lot. It should like start and stop more, maybe. Like this is like a big motion that's like going all the way past you. It should maybe like interrupt its own motion and recalculate just to be like more erratic.
Yeah.
Its own motion. Sometimes also decides to interrupt its own motion. Quickly decelerating to a stop. Before making another pass at you. Insert link. No, I don't want to add an emoji. Damn it. To that video. Alright, I think this might be a done design.
Oh yeah, it looks great.
Put this note up here. Cool. Cool. Wow, what a neat what a neat thing this will be.
It's gonna be so fun.
There's like a lot of Earthbound that ended up in here. I guess when my brain goes to like make a RPG, like make something that's riffing on RPGs, that's where it goes. Because it's got like battle backgrounds, kind of like Earthbound, which, you know, it has the coolest battle backgrounds. The movement of like the enemy that triggers it is like kind of similar, I think, to like Earthbound, like how overworld NPCs and enemies kind of like run into you and move weirdly. And even the fact that it's like a box, this like present opening animation, I'm like thinking about the presents that they use, like how they open. Is there like a GIF? Nope. But yeah, those things, the way they like pop open is like really distinct and pleasing. Maybe it could look like that. So if you're a fan of the game Earthbound, then the astral encounter will be right up your alley. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, that was fun, everybody.
Thanks for joining and for all your help keeping us motivated and inspired.
Heck yeah. This was fun. Try to stream again soon.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye.